I'm sitting there, and I hear him shoot, but it's like pow, pow. And when I looked down there, it looked like a big, ginormous German Shepherd dog that was running with hind legs towards him. You could see that he was hitting it in the chest. So I put up the gun I was using, and I shot and hit it in the shoulder, the right shoulder, because they're running straight at him. The second shot, I hit it right in the temple, hit it right in the side. But when it fell down, it scratched my brother. It cut him. It scratched him on his left side of his chest.
This is the Cryptid Creature Show. I'm Brian, and with me, as always, is my co-host Todd. What's up, buddy?
Brian, my friend, as you know, tonight's episode is going to be one of the best ones we've had.
I think so. It's going to be a mind blower, I believe.
I think it is too. We don't want to spoil it for the listeners, but it is an amazing encounter. So tonight we're going to have Randy come on. Randy had a Dogman encounter in Ohio with his brother. It got pretty serious. So we'll leave it at that, and we'll let the listeners hear the rest of the story. You ready to bring Randy on?
Yep, let's get him.
Yeah.
Hey, Randy. How you doing, bud?
Pretty good, I guess. Okay.
Good. How you doing?
Fine.
Good.
I want to thank you for taking the time. I know it took us a little bit to get reconnected here again, and talk about your encounter tonight, but we appreciate you being here with us and talking to us.
Okay. Like I said, might take me a little time.
Oh, you're fine.
That's all right. We have time.
Yep. Go at your own pace. And
okay.
Your encounter happened in Ohio, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
In southern Ohio, down below, actually about halfway between Columbus and Portsmouth.
Okay. And what year was it?
Late 80s, something in that area.
Okay.
I'd probably been anywhere from, 35 to 37 or 8 years old at the time.
Okay. Why don't you tell us about your encounter and your experience and what all happened to you?
Okay. Well, I'll have to start out a little bit, give you a go around, I guess. Deer hunt season started here on a Monday, and me and my stepson and my brother all went to down on a farm that we hunt. There's a 500-acre farm that we hunt. I've hunted there since 1966. Me and my brother hunted there forever, and our uncle had farmed the farm, and we went down there on a Monday morning. And of course, got up early and left and drove down there. And my stepson always liked to hunt up on the high ground, up on a looked like a little high patch up there. There was a pasture and some woods, and he always liked to hunt down in that area because of the cornfields. Well, where we was at, we went on down, and there's about probably 30 acres of woods, I would imagine, down in there. And then we went down there, and we just kind of sat on there was just a couple old stumps that I sat down, and my brother went on down farther to, which would, if I sat down on the stump, it would have been to my right. He went down and sat on another stump. Well, we sat there all day, and normally the first day of deer season, there'll be deer you'll see that morning, and usually we kill something the first day. Well, that day, nobody killed anything. So it come nighttime, and we come up out of there, and we never really noticed it till my stepson said, "Did you guys notice how quiet it was all day?" And, we didn't realize it till he said something about it, but there wasn't a bird, there wasn't anything making any noise. There wasn't a bee, there wasn't any insects, there wasn't anything chirping, there wasn't a squirrel, there was nothing. And usually the squirrels are thick down there. So we never thought much about it. We went home. Next day, my stepson wanted to go to his dad's. So me and my brother went down, and we got on our stand and got down in there, and we sat down on the same stumps that we sat on. And he went on farther down past where I was at and sat down on the stump. I'm sitting there, and it's about 10 or 10:30 of the morning, and I hear him shoot, but it's like pow, pow. So I jump off because I kind of sat back in the woods. So I jumped out to see what he was shooting at. And when I looked down there, it looked like a big, ginormous German Shepherd dog that was running with hind legs towards him. So he shot, he was shooting, and you could see that he was hitting it in the chest. And so I put up the gun I was using, and which we weren't supposed to use rifles, but that was way before they allowed rifles in Ohio. But we were kind of outlawing it, and when I put the rifle up, I shot and hit it in the shoulder, the right shoulder, because it was running straight at him. And then the second shot I shot, I hit it right in the temple, I hit it right in the side. But when it fell down, it scratched my brother. It cut him. It scratched him on his left side of his chest. Cut a gash in him. So I ran down there, and this thing's deader than a doornail by then, And we're wondering what it is, because it looked like, if you ever seen the Van Helsing movie when Van Helsing is fighting with the vampire there towards the end, that's exactly what it looked like. Only maybe a little, maybe a little bit different, but almost exactly that way. And so we took it took 5 rounds of a .358 Winchester in his chest and never slowed it down. And I hit it with the .308 rifle that I had in his right shoulder and the temple. When I hit it in the temple with the same gun, that's what killed it. Or we assume that's what killed it. But so we ran up, and I got the old Jeep we had and got my brother and got him loaded up in there, and we went up to the house. And when we got up there, my uncle's wife had called it in that it had been a dog or an animal attack. So while we were waiting for the ambulance to come, the game warden came, 2 game wardens came, the sheriff came, and dog warden guy came. Well, we told him it wasn't a dog. It was, we tried to explain to them what it was, but they kind of thought we were crazy. I mean, they thought we were nuts, I'm telling you. And I had a buddy that was in the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. He only had one guy ahead of him in the Natural Resources that was hunting on a farm just a couple farms down from us, and he heard it on his radio. So he came up to see what was going on, see everything, what was happening. So we said, okay, I'll take you down and show you what it is. And I got them in the old Jeep, and they got a couple of trucks, and they drove down in there. And of course, this was before I had a cell phone, or my brother had a cell phone or anything. And they were snapping pictures with like Nikon cameras. They all had like big cameras they were taking pictures of this thing with. And this thing was probably more than likely, 7.5 feet tall, big, probably weighed 400 pounds. And it was big. I'm telling you, it was big, but it had backward legs like a dog on its back legs, but its front, well, I guess his front legs, it looked like a man's arms with just big claws on it. I mean, the claws were 3 inches long, themselves. And, but it had like big canine teeth, and it looked just like a German Shepherd dog in the face. Big, only way bigger. Had a body like a bodybuilder, like, you've seen pictures of old Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was in his prime. That's what it looked like. The upper body did. Now the lower body was real thin and real slim. Other than its legs were huge. Its legs were evidently had run or whatever. But they had all wondered what it was. They were all trying to ask them if they'd ever seen anything like this. Of course, game warden guys didn't know. The sheriff didn't know. Nobody knew what it was. And the more it went out over the radio, the more these game warden guys came flying in, and the more the sheriffs came in to see it. And like I said, it was just a crazy thing. But I could tell you, my brother won't talk to you, but I'll tell you this side. He took, and before he started shooting, he said he's seen these things coming across the field. There was 3 of them, he said. Said it was a big one that we shot, and there was 2 smaller ones. One that was kind of way smaller, and then was one about half again as big between them. And he said he thought the neighbors have German Shepherds and Doberman Pinscher dogs. And he thought it was one of those dogs, that some of them dogs. And he said he just watched it. They would come across the field an open cornfield that had been just shelled corn. Said they come across it, and said that they got within about 125 yards. My brother said he kept his hat down over just where he could look underneath the bill of his hat just to see it. He tried to keep his face covered. And he said this old bigger one just stood up and he just sniffed up in the air, was sniffing the air. Next thing you know, he made a growl or a grunt. He said the other 2 run down towards where the river is. And Rick said this thing looked at him, and he he swears it grinned at him or smiled at him because it showed its teeth and just like a big grin. And said it just took off, stood up on its hind legs, and he said that's when he freaked clear out because he said I never seen a dog run on its hind legs before, but it ran across there and ran at him, and that's when he started shooting. That's when I stepped out and started shooting. But this thing run, when I think back on it, it reminds me of how, you ever seen how a Tyrannosaurus Rex kind of runs lean forwards? That's how this thing was running, kind of leaning forwards when it run. But it tore my brother, went through a Carhartt jacket, he had a pair of Carhartt bib overalls on, and it cut the strap on the bib overalls, plus he had 2 flannel shirts, plus he had an insulated shirt, big heavy insulated shirt, and a t-shirt, and it went through all that and cut his left shoulder, cut up on his, like where his left chest was, like where your heart might be, like above where your heart would be, and but it made a scratch, and it made a lunge at him when it finally killed it, and it just made a lunge at him and scratched at him. But we, game warden and everybody's there, and we're asking them what they're going to do. They want to help load it up, but then it's getting late in the evening, and they said no, they were going to leave it there. They left a guy there that was a new guy for the game warden guys, young guy, and they had like an old Jeep Wagoneer or Gladiator, whatever. I mean, the old station wagon type Jeep. And they had him stay there. He's going to stay there all night. Well, the next morning, when I went to the hospital, my brother to get my brother that night. I'll kind of tell you a little story that's kind of funny about it. My brother said that he's telling these guys it's not a dog bite. They kept calling it a dog bite. It's not a dog bite. My brother said it's a werewolf. And he said these 2 sheriffs were standing in there with him. And he said he just kept telling his doctors, it's a werewolf. I've seen this werewolf. It's a werewolf. It isn't a dog. It isn't a dog bite. It's a werewolf. So he said that he was sitting there in the bed, and he said he heard this guy say, one of the doctors outside said, well, we got kind of a guy in here must be kind of a loony in here. Said, want to keep an eye on him. And my brother said he looked around that sheriff and just told the sheriff, he said, well, man, I hope this guy don't come in here. And the sheriff was one of the guys that we knew. And the guy said, they're talking about you, Rick. Rick said, oh, okay. Because they were saying they didn't believe him what he said. They thought he was going nuts, from all this. So I got my brother, and it was like 11 or 12 o'clock at night. And we go down the next day and to go get him, because we got took cameras down there. We were going to take pictures of it. Well, we got down there the next day, and the boy that they had down there watching it that night, supposed to have been there watching it all night, he'd been in his truck, and he said he kept hearing growls and howls and everything else all night long. He said about 3 o'clock it kind of cut down, and said he fell asleep at 3 o'clock in the morning. He said he woke up just about 6 or 6:30, and he said he had the headlights on all night long. And he said when he turned when he leaned up out of the thing, said this thing was gone. It wasn't there no more. And said they thought that me and my brother had went back and stole it. That's what they were trying to accuse us of. But like I told him, we was at home. We never went nowhere. We were home from like midnight on. But anyhow, they took and got he was going. This young boy was going frantic because he'd lost this thing. And we always kind of thought maybe that they'd come down and got this thing and just made this boy pretend like it. But when we looked at his Jeep, he had, you could see marks where something had tried to jiggle the door handle, to open the door handle. And it tried all 4 doors. This thing was a 4-door Jeep. And it had tried all 4 doors trying to jiggle the door, open the door up. So you could see like dirty claw marks on the handle. So, but that's basically my story. If you guys want to ask me any questions, you can.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing you guys were hunting illegally with those rifles. If you didn't have those rifles, what do you think would have happened? I mean,
it would have. A shotgun would have never killed it. A slug shotgun would have never killed it. So,
no, probably wouldn't even made a mark on it.
I don't know if you guys know anything about rifles or not, but a 358 Winchester is a big, high-powered rifle. It'll kill a bear. It'll kill a bear. So with this 308 rifle that I had. and it don't take 5 or 6 or 7 shots to kill it, and if this thing, we were shooting it, my brother, like I said, hit it in the chest 5 out of 5 times. You could see it where the bullets had hit it in the chest.
And didn't even slow him down.
No, it didn't. I don't know if it was momentum or what, but it didn't even, it was still running at him like I said, when I stepped around the thing, it was running full bore at him, but it was close to him. But when I shot, it was getting close to him, but it kind of made a lunge. And when it made that lunge, that last lunge is when it cut him, scratched him. So.
Wow. Does your brother still have the scar on his shoulder?
A little bit. Not, you don't see it much. You can't hardly see it much. We looked for it, I don't know, a year ago when we was talking about it. He had the shirt on. Of course, he almost always never wears the shirt in the summertime, and we was looking for it. You could barely see it, but it was a pretty good cut. They took and used them like that water brush to water brush it out and all that good kind of stuff.
Ouch.
Had to put a couple stitches in it. So,
So what was it left reported as? Obviously, there had to be a police report, right, or some kind of something.
There was never anything ever made. And I was telling you about the photograph that my friend took when he was taking pictures. They actually had me hold its head, pull its head up, and we rolled it over on its stomach. It was on its back, So we rolled it over on its stomach, and I picked it up by the head, and they was taking pictures of me holding its head up. So they wanted to take pictures of its head. So they're taking pictures of it. And I told my friend, like I said, he was the second man in the Department of Natural Resources up here, and game board guys. And I told him, I said, do you think you could get me a couple pictures of that? He said, sure. I said, I'll get you some pictures. I said, no problem at all. And the funny part is that I know 2 of the sheriffs too. They were the sheriffs that I'd known for a long time, and I told them if they ever thought about it, could they get me a couple pictures? Oh yeah, we'll figure out something. Well, I still never, to this day, I've never got no pictures. And about 2 years ago, I seen my friend at the store, my friend from the game department. Of course, he's retired now. And I asked him, I said, well, how come you never ever got me in them pictures? He said, I don't know what kind of pictures you're talking about. So basically, it was a big cover-up.
Not surprising.
Well, that's not surprising to me at all, So.
How far away were you when you took that temple shot?
Oh, probably. I probably was 100 yards, imagine.
Wow.
It was just lucky. It was just a lucky shot. I mean, me and my brother are good shots. We always have been. I mean, we knew how to shoot. We've shot ever since we were boys. Our dad took us out deer hunting and rabbit hunting and, squirrel hunting and groundhog hunting. We done all kinds of stuff for that as a boys. And then I know, because like I said, when I shot it the first time, I hit it right dead in the shoulder, right there, just a little bit down from where, where its neck was, hit it. And then, like I said, I aimed up just a little bit higher. It was leaned forward, and I mean, it was running. That was just, when I hit that thing, it was just all luck where I hit it. That's all it was.
Yeah, you would have had to time that just right if that thing was in motion, even
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. See, I've shot deer running before, but this thing was running about almost as fast as a deer runs. I mean, it was running fast.
Jeez.
But like I said, I was just lucky that I shot it like I did, because I don't even think it knew I was there. I mean, I don't think it knew. I think it saw my brother, and it just thought that was going to be an easy meal for him and the other 2,
Never knew what hit it, right?
No, he didn't even realize. I don't think he even realized out there, because when I first shot it, hit it in the shoulder, it never even changed. It never even changed stride. I mean, it was still running just full bore.
Didn't even look at you.
Pardon me?
Didn't even look at you. They didn't even notice that you were the one.
It never even looked my way. It had every bit of its eyeballs on my brother.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect scenario for you. Not perfect, but had you not been the shot that you were, had you not had that rifle, you wouldn't have a brother. You both might not even be here. You're
right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Did you say this was your private land, or whose land was this?
Well, it was a farm. Some other people owned the farm, but my uncle had farmed this farm for all from back in the early 60s, you know. And it was, like I said, he farmed it up till the day he died. And I still have relatives that farm it now. I had another uncle took it over when my uncle died. I had another uncle took the farm over. And now another uncle's grandson farms it now. So, I mean, we've all got access to it. We can go down anytime we want to go to it. So.
Do you still go out there to hunt?
Oh, I hunt. I never quit hunting. My brother quit hunting, but I kept right on hunting. But I made me a tree stand, something that was up high off the ground. Cause, you know, this thing, if it would have wanted to sneak up on you, I think it could have snuck up on you. And that's how I always felt. Cause like I said, I put me a tree stand about 20 feet in the air so that had a ladder and I could pull the ladder up. And if it come up, you know, close to if I seen it or whatever, at least I could get a shot at it before it got up the tree, maybe. You know, but they say nowadays that those things can climb trees. I don't know.
With claws like that, it wouldn't be surprising.
Oh, it was, you know, its foot was huge. I mean, its rear foot was, I mean, I'd say it was 10 inches, you know, 10 inches anyhow, you know, and it's real wide. It was wider than my hand wide. You know,
wow.
at the like the toes, you know, where the toes and stuff were.
You're listening to the Cryptid Creatures Show. If you're a fan of the show, go and check out our new Patreon site. You'll get access to our private Discord server, exclusive merchandise, access to all live streams and Q&As, discounts on merch from the Cryptid Creatures store, and get a chance to be a guest host during one of the show's recordings. Just go to www.patreon.com/cryptidcreatures1. Thank you for listening and supporting the show.
Can you describe its claws, its hands? Did they look like a dog's hands, or were they more?
No. Have you ever seen a raccoon hands and front and rear feet?
Yeah.
It looked just like a raccoon's hand and feet, only like enormous. It looked just exactly like a raccoon's hand. That's what the first thing it reminded me of. Looked like a raccoon's hands, only bigger.
Wow. Yeah, we've heard that before, actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A lot. Yeah.
Well, I never ever seen anything. I never had anything ever to compare it to. It had a little tail on it, you know, not great big long tail, but a little tail.
Really?
And it was real bushy. It had the only thing. It was jet black. This thing was, I mean, black as black could be. Only thing, it had a little white spot on its chest. But where my brother was shooting it, it really wasn't even bleeding there. You know, I mean, it bled a little bit later on. Or you could see blood a little later on. But my brother shot it, like I said, 5 times right in the dead in the chest, and it never even flinched. You know.
Yeah.
So never ever seen anything that even looked close to it until I watched that Van Helsing movie, and when he fights the vampire, it looks almost not necessarily exactly like that, but really close. The teeth and how its nose is real long and its ears on top of its head.
I know this happened pretty fast when you stepped around to take the shot. Did you notice his eyes? Did you happen to get a look at those? Or?
No, this
I
was
didn't
going
think you
on.
would. I just thought it.
I see this creature running at my brother. I didn't even see the other 2 that run away. My brother said there was 2 that was with this one that had ran on down the way, and I didn't see them either. You know, I didn't see them at all. So,
I wonder if it was a female and a young one.
Well, I always kind of thought it might have been a female and one of his offspring or whatever, because my brother said that they was like, this one was great big, you know, like I said, 7 or 7.5 foot tall big, and the other one wasn't quite as big. It was a little smaller, and then another one was just a little bit smaller than that one, you know. So it kind of like stair stepped.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. Probably a family.
My brother said he never even thought nothing about shooting at it if it hadn't charged at him, because he said he couldn't figure out what it was when it come walking across there, because he said it walked weird. It was on all. They was walking. It was all of them was on all 4s, but my brother said their arms were longer than the back legs. You know, as far as their front legs were longer. And they walked odd. said that's the first thing he noticed when they come across there. But he said he still thought they were just the neighbor's dogs, you know.
Did you happen to notice, did this thing have a really bad smell to it or anything like that?
No, you know, it was wintertime and it was cold that morning. But, you know, in a little while, I'd have been chucking clothes off because sun was shining. But it was cold that morning. That's why we had so many clothes on. But my brother had never took any of his clothes off. But no, I never noticed it. You know, I didn't get down to smell it. Now, don't get me wrong. So, but I never noticed a real bad odor. Well, it smelled like a dog. Wet dog is what it smelled like.
Wet dog.
But it wasn't like bad. It was just smelled like an old wet dog.
Kind of what my dogs smell like right now.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what went through your head when you stepped around. I know you reacted fast and all that, and that's totally cool. I mean, after you shot that thing and you went over there and you looked at this thing, did you automatically think that's a werewolf? Or were you just kind of in shock still? Obviously, you had to been.
Well, that's the first thing I thought. I thought, this thing looks like a daggone werewolf. I've never seen such. That's the reason me and my brother, that's what we thought it was. You know, and, you know, but we'd never seen a werewolf that looked like this. We couldn't understand how a dog could run on its hind legs. You know, and first off, I was freaked out because I had to go and see what was wrong with my brother. And then after I got down there, he was more excited about wanting to know what the hell was it. He said, "What the hell is this thing? What the hell is this thing?" He said, "What is that? Look at that thing. What is that?" And I said, "Yeah, I know." So I've always been one to carry extra handkerchiefs with me. So I pulled a handkerchief out of my pocket and stuck it in the cut, try to help get it slowed down from where it's bleeding, because it's bleeding really bad, you know. And I was afraid he was going to go into shock. And I kind of hated to leave him there with that thing because, you know, he didn't tell me till later on that there was two other ones. If I knew there'd been two other ones, I'd have made him got up and I'd have made him walk up to the Jeep with me instead of going up and getting it and then driving down there where he was at. But, you know, he didn't tell me that till later on.
Yeah, that would have been some important information.
Well, you know, but I think it's the same thing. He was on an adrenaline rush like I was. I mean,
I'm sure.
I don't normally run, but I run from where I was at. I bet I run half a mile, maybe farther, to where the Jeep was. And when I got up there, I jumped in the Jeep, drove, and I wasn't even winded. I mean, that's just how much adrenaline I had going through me, I guess, you know.
Oh, yeah, I bet. Man, I can't even imagine how pumped up you were.
Well, I'm going to tell you. And then later on, I was scared to death. I'm telling you. So it's just like it hit me all at once, you know. So, but like I said, you know, like the sheriff, the Department of Natural Resources guy, they took pictures of it. Sheriff took pictures of it, but nobody could get me no pictures of it. So
funny how all that just disappeared, huh?
Oh yeah, and I've asked them before if they had a file on there. You know, I asked a couple. I know some of the newer guys that went in there. And I said, "Do you ever notice if they have a file on where there was a attack down on the farm down there?" Of course, a couple of them boys I know, they said, "Well, we'll look." And they'll come back to me and said, "They'll come back to me and said, there's nothing on file about any kind of attack down there." And of course, the one boy growed up with my brother's son, and they was all wondering because we never told. Me and my brother's on one noted other than our mother, you know, and what happened. And Rick's wife knew it, but he just, you know, he just let her not think about it being a werewolf. He just thought it was a dog. He didn't let her think it was a dog. And the same thing with my wife. I thought just let her think it was a dog. So, but I told one other guy, I told this story to one other guy on a radio station. He wanted to hear it, and I told him. And like I said, it's just something I don't think about it. I try not to think about it, you know.
No, I don't blame you. I wouldn't either. Man.
Well, I can tell you a little more to this. There's a little more to it. Later on, I don't know, a couple of weeks later, we start having this black SUV parking in my brother's driveway all the time. And we'd go down there and talk to see what they needed. Well, they'd take off that leave when you couldn't catch them. You know, they was gone. They'd take off. So finally, one day, I got another way out of here. I can't, you know, my brother, they can see me coming down over to go to my brother's driveway. But I got a different way out, so I took another way out. I told Rick, I said, I'm going down there. I said, when you see me pull up in front of them guys, I said, you come down the hill too. So I went around the other way, and I pulled up, blocked them in, and jumped out. And I said, what you guys want? Well, this guy gave me some kind of a bullcrap story about they was looking for some road. I said, there ain't no road by that name around here. Well, that's what we was looking for, but we're trying to find out. I said, I want to know who you guys are. The guy said, well, it doesn't matter who we are. So I'm going to tell you, I was fed up with this, and this is awful too, but I told the guy I wanted to know who he was, and he kind of blew me off and made me mad. So I pulled a pistol and stuck in his face. Told him, I said, I want to know who you are. So I said, I want to see your driver's license or your credentials. Well, they threw their stuff out there. I said, they started to hand them to me. I said, no, you throw them out there on the ground and we'll get them. So they threw them out there. And of course, my brother had a rifle on the guys on the other side. And I went down, picked the two IDs up, looked at them, and I don't remember anymore. It's been so many years ago, and I never wrote it down. So some kind of AD, CDD, something, bullshit. And I figured it was some kind of something that wasn't real. It was some kind of a fake ID. So anyhow, well, I went and told the guy, I said, well, I apologize for pulling a gun on you, but I want to know what's going on. He said, well, there ain't nothing going on. I know. We're just lost. I said, you can't be lost for 2 weeks in a row here, buddy. And it was there every evening, sat down at my brother's driveway, So that finally stopped, and we went back, and when my brother's got a 50-acre field behind his house, we got a gun range set up back there, and we'd go across the tracks, and we'd shoot our guns. Well, we were back there shooting one time, and I said, Rick, there's a guy over there in camouflage clothes down along the railroad tracks. He said, yeah, there is. So we meandered over toward him. Guy stands up. He's got a high-powered, like a 700 Remington high-powered rifle with a scope on it. I said, buddy, what are you doing? He said, I'm turkey hunting. I said, you don't turkey hunt with that kind of gun. Well, I'm just scouting right now.
If you want to explode the turkey.
Yeah. I said, you should have probably asked the landowner before you scouting on his property. He said, well, I'll get out of here. Okay. So I got up and walked down the railroad tracks. Well, me and Rick was talking. I said, well, I wonder where that guy's going. So we walked back up to see, and he would disappear. He was gone from walking down the tracks. He just that fast, he slipped off into the woods and hid, So I kind of found out later on, though, that these things, a lot of times, they'll get your scent and they'll follow you back, And this was some kind of a government deal that they were trying to make sure that we weren't harassed anymore after that, I guess, by these things, Because somebody told me one time that on another program, I asked a guy, and he said that he had, you got to watch it because if they get your scent, which our scent would have been down in there all around in there, but that they'll follow you back and maybe try to ambush you at your house if you don't watch. So I just said, okay, but, there was a lot of other guys sent down there too, not just mine and my brother's. There was several, 4 or 5 sheriffs, all these DNR guys, Like I said, and we were sitting there was another group of guys came in and had black SUV, and 4 guys jumped out. They walked around there and took some pictures, looked at it, done some looking it over, wanted to know who killed it. I told them I did, and asked me some questions, took me outside and asked me questions, asked me what I shot it with. Told them, I said, well, who shot it in the chest? And I said, my brother did. I said, well, that's pretty good shooting. 5 shots right dead, almost dead center in the chest. I said, but it didn't stop it. He said, no. The guy said, no, normally they don't. That's where they said their thickest. So their thickest is in their chest. The thickest part of their body is in their chest, front chest area. And he said, but he said, you're just lucky. You do know that, don't you? I said, I know. I'm real lucky. He said, well, we might have some more questions for you and your brother here in the next couple of days, but I never seen him again, so.
Yeah, I was wondering if the Men in Black were going to be around telling you not to talk about this situation. Maybe they were bugging your house and they could hear your conversations. And since you weren't talking about it very much, maybe they weren't, or like you said, maybe they were watching to make sure that you guys weren't getting harassed by more of these creatures.
Well, the thing of it is, they got out, and I mean, they all had like black polo shirts and khaki pants on. All four of them did when they got out of that SUV. And like I said, my brother asked Rick, I said, if they ever talked to him, he said, no, I've never heard nothing from nobody. I said, did they come out to the hospital? He said, no. So the only one talked to me was the ODNR guy, and he said the sheriff that was there. They said they had two sheriff's officers in the emergency room with him. They were standing there with their hands folded at the door, and I don't know if they were trying to keep anybody else from coming in, or they didn't want Rick talking about it much, or what was going on. I have no idea anymore,
Yeah, that sounds like military, black polos and tan.
Yeah.
That sounds like military to me.
Yeah.
Probably was.
Well, it could have been. Like I said, I have no idea. They didn't, all the one guy's name said his name was Paul or something like that. I think his first one. The other, there's three of them didn't even talk, didn't introduce himself. The one guy was the boss. He done all the talking. He had a little scratch pad he was writing stuff down on. And like I said, they had one guy there that was taking pictures and taking measurements. And that's one of the reasons I know it was between 7 and 7.5 feet tall. It was just because the guy they had two of them, had a tape measure there, measuring it out, see how tall it was. So.
Did the hospital report say anything? What did the hospital report say was the cause of his injury?
Dog bites.
Dog bites?
Yep, it was a dog bite. And there's not even a record of that anymore because my brother's daughter works at the hospital. We've had her look for it. There's not even a record of it. Of course, they may have sponged the records, after 20 years or whatever, but, this had been 30 years ago probably or close to it,
Yeah, old records like that probably are just kind of filed away somewhere in a warehouse and everything's digital now. But you guys know, I mean.
Yeah, but there's so many people. If I was to tell this story to very many people, they would think I needed to be in a nut house. I'm telling you. There's nobody knows this. No, not even my stepsons. Nobody knows it but me and Rick. It'll probably go over our grave with us, other than whatever you guys put out. There's so many descriptions of Dogman. I don't know if that's what this was. I assume that's what it was. But there isn't. I don't think there's such a thing as a werewolf. I don't think. It always made me wonder. I've hunted down there a bunch of times since then. I mean, I quit hunting there, I think last year, the year before last, I quit hunting. And not just because I'm afraid, but just because I kind of lost interest in it. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what was it about you besides the fact that you're the Dogman Slayer that said, hey, I'm going to go right out back in these woods and keep hunting. I'm not afraid of these things. I mean, I know you built a stand, but wasn't there any kind of fear did you go right back in the same woods and hunt in the same woods? I mean,
yeah. In fact, the stand I built was probably 5 feet from where I was sitting. I didn't build nothing down where my brother was at, but it was probably 5 feet from where I was sitting at that morning, on just another big tree, So
we've talked to several people that have had Dogman encounters. A couple of them, were behind a wall or glass or something like that, or in a vehicle. But in your situation and what happened, would you say that these things are definitely dangerous creatures?
Oh my God, yes. Yes, they're definitely dangerous. They're nothing like a puppy dog to you, I can tell you. This thing was going to kill my brother. I know what it had planned. It was going to kill my brother and have lunch. I know that's what they had planned. And I'm not so sure, because Rick lost track of the two that run away. I'm not real sure that they weren't going to, this one was attacking Rick from the front and they weren't coming around from behind. Because if he had told me he'd seen them other two and they run off, I wouldn't have left him down there because I would have. That'd been my thought that these things are coming around behind him, will get in behind him and attack him.
That may have been the plan until they heard the gunshots and then saw you take him down.
Well, maybe so. Like I said, I don't know. Like I said, it's just I just got lucky. That's all it was. Me and my brother both were very lucky that day. You know.
Well, you definitely saved both of your lives.
Oh yeah.
Did you believe in Bigfoot or anything like that before this happened?
Oh yeah, I believed in Bigfoot forever. Yeah, when I was a young boy, I bought every kind of magazine or book or whatever you could buy to read about Bigfoot or anything that ever wrote up about. I can tell you.
So when you're out there in the woods afterwards hunting again, were you kind of hoping to see the other two and maybe do them in as well and get rid of them? Or
oh
what?
No. I was tickled to death. I've never seen another one since. No. Now I have been in the woods, and the woods go silent before. And normally, when the woods go silent, there's a big predator in there, and I'm talking about something bigger than you know. And I kind of thought to myself sometimes that might have been it was something like that. But I truly think that these things aren't here all the time. I think they travel. I think they were just I just think they were traveling through, and it happened that, you know, they may stay in an area for a little bit, you know, and then travel on. But I think that it was just that thing was at the wrong place at the wrong time, you know, to do what it did. And if it would have just walked on away with the other two, you know, Rick would have never shot at it. You know, like he said, he didn't want to shoot nothing because he thought it was a dog. He said he still thought it was a dog. So he said, stood up on his hind legs and started coming at him. But he said, what was the craziest part is he said it looked like it was grinning at him. You know, it was smiling at him or grinning at him. But I told him later, I said, maybe it was just showing you its teeth. You know, I don't know. So.
Yeah, we've heard that grinning thing before too.
Yeah.
Haven't we?
Oh, yeah.
Brian?
Yep.
It's got to be creepy. I can
A few
imagine.
people have told us that they smiled at him.
Like, hi, I'm going to eat you now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's what this other guy, he had a thing that people wrote in to, you know, about my talking to him. And I had one person right there and said, maybe it was just doing a fake charge. Well, this thing was running too full bore just to be a fake charge. I'm telling you, it was, you know, it could have run a couple, 3 or 4 steps at my brother and then turn and run off. You know, my brother wouldn't even shot at it. And my brother didn't, he was sitting there on the stump with the gun laying across his lap. And he said when they got up there closer to him, he said he kind of got the gun where he could put it up on his shoulder if he had to. Said because, you know, even dogs, these neighbors' dogs were known that they would bite you or bite at you or want to bite you and stuff. But we didn't think, we wouldn't have no intention of shooting the dogs. You know, we would have never done that to be. You know, we're dog lovers. We've always had dogs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
well,
like I said, he'd have just let it go about its own way if it hadn't, you know, charged him, you know. So
right. If it was a bluff charge, he wouldn't have taken that swipe at him.
Oh no, that's what I said. You know, it was, and when Rick said that they cleaned that cutout on him, it had chunks of meat, not from him, but had chunks of meat that they had to dig out of the cut. You know, that from where this thing had meat under its fingernails already. You know,
wow.
And the neighbors up and down through there, they'd have a calf come up missing every once in a while, and my uncle had a calf that had been killed that couple of days before, and that's why I think they were just in the area. They just happened to be in the area when we was there. That's what I think.
If you would have seen another one in the woods, though, while you were hunting afterwards, if you just had seen one, say, 50 yards away, and he was just kind of walking by and looking at you, whatever, what would you have done?
I just sat there real quiet, hoping it didn't see me or come over.
You wouldn't shoot
I wouldn't have shot it. If they're that hard to kill, one person, you'd have to make a headshot every time to kill them. And, you know, what I done, like I said, I'm good at shooting. I'm a good shot. But that was just basically a very, very, very lucky shot. It just happened to work out that way. So, and like I said, I don't want to kill something. Like, I don't want to kill something just to kill it. This, you know, I like to deer hunt. You know, I kill something to eat it. So I know you can't eat them damn things. They would have to be so tough you couldn't eat it,
Werewolf jerky. Here you go.
Yeah.
That doesn't even sound
I'll
good.
pass on that. Yeah.
People would probably buy it, though. It's not a bad idea.
I'm sure they would. You're listening to the Cryptid Creature Show with Todd and Brian. We're glad you're here, and we hope you're enjoying the show. Don't forget to visit our website at www.cryptidcreatures.net. By becoming a member, you'll get access to exclusive videos, members-only episodes, early, unedited, ad-free releases, and even a shout-out on an episode. Join us at www.cryptidcreatures.net, and thank you for supporting the show.
Other than this thing protecting its family, thinking it had to protect its family, and maybe they know, like Bigfoot know, that you have a gun or they can smell the gunpowder. I don't know. Other than that, this thing was gonna kill you, brother. These things sound like they're definitely dangerous. Do you think that maybe they're the reason of some people's missing demise that they never find, that go missing in the woods? You think it could be because of these things? Do you think that's going on?
I think a lot of that is where people come up missing is because of that. Yes. And like I said, I don't know that Ohio is known to have a bunch of Dogman encounters. I don't really know. I don't really know anything about that. But, it seems funny that a lot of people come up missing going to a state park or going to the woods or going to a forestry, going to the forest or deer hunting or some kind of hunting. They come up missing. Guys that hunt don't just come up missing. It just don't happen to you. There's got to be a reason you come up missing. There's a reason for you become missing.
Oh, yeah.
Or I think it is. A guy that hunts, he knows. A guy that deer hunts or hunts in the woods, he knows what he's doing. Guy's hunted 10 years, he knows exactly how to get around through a woods. You don't, you just know. You just know how to do it. But I also know that I think a lot of that could be that because, if there's a group of hunters together and they all split up and go off in a general direction, it's usually someone comes up missing out of that, So I just think they're opportunity hunters is what I think they are. I think that they thought that was just going to be an easy, quick meal. And like I said, maybe he thought my brother was going to shoot at him. But, he was out there 125 or 50 yards when he started running at my brother. And like Rick said, he said, I didn't even have the gun rolled up. I was just sitting there on the stone with my head down. And because a lot of times if you get a creature, well, a lot of times you can take it even a deer. As long as the deer doesn't see your face and you keep your head down, you can look under the bill of your hat, kind of. They'll come. They won't even bother you. They'll just walk on by. So this thing, he made a conscionable effort to, attack my brother. I think he did anyhow.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. He probably thinking easy meal.
Yeah, it's terrifying to think that those things are out there. Where do you think they come from?
I really don't know. I kind of think sometimes they might be some kind of a government experiment. I'm not sure, but and I know there's what is it, the Anubis from Egyptian times. Anubis was supposed to be a dog-headed man, but maybe that's where they spawned from. From that, and Egyptians had a lot of different things that we don't have today, but doesn't mean that it wasn't at one time it wasn't real. And The same thing with Indians have talked about Bigfoot and these, Dogmen and, Wendigos and all that kind of stuff for years and years before white man ever set foot on this country. So maybe they're not a government. Maybe they were just like maybe they were just like the bears and the birds and all that. I don't know. Maybe they were just something that was here and we've just encroached on their land so much that now they're coming around where we're at.
It could be.
I want to hope that they're a government experiment, only for the reason that if they're not, and they're just a natural creature, how many of them are there out there? And where the heck are they? I want to see Bigfoot, but the more we hear these encounters with Dogman, I'm scared to go out in the woods, man. I really am. I'm like, what if I run into one of these things? Am I a goner? I'm not going to have a gun on me big enough to do anything.
Well, I don't think you could have a pistol, actually packing a pistol that would have done anything to it. Maybe made it mad, like a 45 caliber pistol or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would have done anything unless you shot it in the head, maybe. But I don't know. Like I said, I have no idea. I mean, the biggest thing is if are they more dog or more human? And if they're dog, a female dog can have 10 puppies. Think about that for a minute. And every time they have a breeding cycle, they have 10 more of them, or 5 more of them. It won't take very long to they don't run the human race.
I don't know, because I think those babies would probably be the size of a human baby when they were born. That'd be...
Yeah.
Wow, she'd be... Wow. I don't know.
Yeah, but if they're as big as
2 or 3 maybe.
be,
2 or 3 maybe, but man, more than that?
that's even plenty.
Mm-hmm.
One is too many. One is too many. I'm sorry.
Thinking, I just, and it might be that it's just got more, they're more human in it than we think, and it only packs one baby at a time. So,
right.
I mean, that might be why there was only one with this. Because,
could be.
you think back on it, it was probably a female and a young one with her, and that older male that was shot.
Yeah.
Thinking about the encounters that we have talked about with Dogman prior to yours, and you talked about the Ohio, you didn't know how many were in Ohio. We had a recent one in Youngstown area that was pretty scary, where one of these creatures chased these boys up into an old abandoned building that had like 3 or 4 different levels, and it was coming up the stairs after them, like different, it was like 3 or 4 levels of stairways, and it was coming up after them and on 2 legs. And luckily a train came by and scared it off, right? Because there was train tracks right beside the building. And, so what was it going to do to those guys?
Yeah.
Another one, some guys were walking some train tracks, and it kind of tripped one of the guys up and was standing over him, and it saw the other guys there, and I think it decided it wasn't worth the fight maybe and took off. But I mean, what was it going to do? These things do sound like they're dangerous. It's just terrifying to think that a mountain lion, having a mountain lion encounter would be terrifying, or having one follow you, when you're trying to get it away from you. But just one of these things, I mean, you're going to be in shock, first of all, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I know this is crazy what I'm going to say, or maybe not, but if you have a pistol of any kind and a mountain lion's coming, you shoot that animal a couple times, and especially if you hit him one time, he ain't going to come bother you no more. But this thing, if he's chasing you and you shoot him once or twice with a pistol, you liable to just piss him off worse, and he's liable to come right on up and kill you real quick.
Yeah, true.
So, and if you'd have seen the claws and the hands of this thing, I mean, they were like, there's nothing that you compare it to as far as a hand. They were the biggest hands but they looked like a raccoon. They were just like, but they had 3-inch claws. The claws looked like they were part of their finger. They were about 3 inches long. And like I said, I don't know how anybody would survive. Even the 4 or 5 guys, I don't think 4 or 5 guys fighting against this thing could survive. I think this thing could kill you. 4 or 5 slices, it'd have you ripped open. Slash you a little few times, and you'd be done. You'd be bleeding so bad you couldn't fight back. And these claws on this thing were sharp. I mean, like, they were like a razor. They were like razor sharp.
One good swipe, and that's all it took.
You had to cut through that many layers of clothes.
Well, and it went through, Carhartt coat. Carhartt coat's pretty heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And ripped through the suspender parts of a pair of bibs on the suspenders. And plus the shirt he had on, 2 flannel shirts he had on, plus an insulated shirt underneath that, plus a T-shirt, and it went through and cut through all of that. I mean, it cut through all that to cut him. And I would hate to think if it had just been a T-shirt. It'd have ripped his chest open.
Yeah.
Even though it was dead, it would still ripped his chest open.
Man, you guys are just lucky to be alive.
Oh, I know. I can count my blessings every day. So
you don't go out, you don't hunt anymore, though, huh? You don't get out in the woods anymore?
I haven't. I go into the woods once in a while, but I don't hunt anymore. I still go down. You always have to go and scout, and I've been down there at them woods. I'd be afraid to tell you how many times I've been down to them woods and walk through the woods. Just walk through them and walk around and look for deer sign, and of course I look for the signs for them things too. But I've been down there in the woods, been walking through the big woods, what I call the big woods, and it'll just get real quiet. But I always carry a rifle with me. I carry that same 308 rifle with me every time I go down there. I don't go down without a weapon. Plus, I have a pistol with me because, like I said, I don't go any place like that anymore unarmed. I'm just not going to do it.
What would you say to somebody who was a skeptic or said, I don't think that dogmen are real. I don't think they exist. What would you tell them?
I don't know what I'd say. I know what I saw. I know what we shot, or I shot, my brother shot. I seen this thing. I seen it on the ground. It's the biggest thing you've ever seen in your entire life. If you've seen, you can remember Arnold Schwarzenegger, how beefy he was all the time. This is how this thing was, only larger than Arnold. I mean, it was larger. Larger, bigger than him. Being 7 foot tall, 7 or 7.5 foot tall. And it was all muscle. I mean, its arms were just like beefy. I mean, its chest was just beefy. Now, you get down around its waistline and it's real thin like the bodybuilders again. It just go real thin. And the legs, the thigh muscles are huge. The calf muscles are big. But the legs and the calf don't match the upper part of the body as much as you would think. So I just think that, whoever doesn't believe me, I can't help that. Or, they think that it's not real. I can't stop them from being killed. They need to listen to what I'm telling them because I've seen it.
Do you think that the government or people from the DNR or whatever that were there, do you think they took the body, or do you think the other dogman creatures came back and took it in the middle of the night? I
truly think that those other dogman things come back and got it, drug it off. Because why else would there been, like, where something had muddy paw prints on a window, and you could see where it had tried to pull the door open. It didn't know how to push the button in on the door, but of course his doors were locked. All his doors were locked. But you could see where they had a hold of the door latch, of the door handle. They were trying to get in the door to him. Something was. And, the same muddy looking paw print that this thing had, so.
Yeah, it's probably going to do him in, get revenge or something.
Well, that's what I think. It was going after. It was going to get him. I mean, that's what they were coming after him, And like I said, this boy. If you'd have seen him, you wouldn't have thought that nobody else would have come and got it. If he was acting, he's probably one of the better actors I ever seen because he was freaking clear out. He was white. He was white-eyed, white-skinned. He thought he was going to lose his job for sure because this thing wasn't there when he woke up that morning. And see, he wasn't supposed to sleep, but he said that he had slept from about 3 o'clock till 6:30, and that's when it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm sure the family came and collected him.
Well, I think that they come and get their own. I think, and there's places down there in them woods they could dig a little small hole, and throw that thing in, and you'd never find it down there in them woods. You'd never see it. You'd never even know it was there.
Right.
So.
Well, Randy, we really appreciate you talking to us tonight, man. It was a pleasure having you here and telling us this awesome experience and
That's a great
terrifying
story, man.
Encounter.
Well, like I said, I appreciate you guys wanting to hear it. I just think of it as another thing that happened in my lifetime. I don't get too awful excited about it. It's just something that happened. I just don't. I don't like talking about it because it kind of brings up bad memories, and it makes you. Sometimes I have nightmares over it. I think about it much.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, we hope you don't this time. Again, we really thank you for talking to us and telling us about it.
Okay. Thank you, fellas.
Yeah, that's great.
All
Hey,
right,
be careful when you're out there in them woods.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Talk to you later.
We'll stay in touch. All right, take care.
Thanks, Randy.
Bye.
Man, that was great having Randy on. That was an incredible encounter.
That was wild.
That was the first of that kind for us. We've never had someone who've actually, I think, shot and killed
the Dogman.
Any kind of cryptid, for that matter. We really appreciate Randy coming on.
Yeah, we do. That was awesome.
So, listeners, we appreciate you just as much. And
yes, we do.
Keep on listening, and thank you very much.
Yep, thank you all.
Brian, my friend, that was a great episode.
Yeah, it was.
What do you say we get out of here? You ready?
Yep. See ya.